This conference will now be recorded.
I'm never going to get used to that. That was something that they added just like a month ago or so.
Yeah.
So, welcome everybody to Deep South training here for the Square 9 document management system. My name is Jeff Anderson, and I was the engineer that put together the system here today. As you can see, I talk very fast sometimes, so I'll apologize up front. I'll kind of keep a little track of that. If there is any questions, feel free to interrupt me. That is perfectly fine as we go along. So. We're going to go ahead and start out by showing the user training, and then we're going to go into the admin training, and we're just going to go quickly through really just the interface and then what to kind of look and expect when looking for documents. So to get log into the system, what you're going to see is you're going to see a little button or a URL that you're going to be given. Whether or not you have this as a link or anything, you can bookmark it. That's A-OK. When you click on the website here, which is the DMS/Square9 web, it's going to ask you for your username. This username is going to be your Active Directory username. So Deep South /SS Administrator or Deep South Administrator or whatever you would use to log into anything that would be used for your Active Directory. And it also uses your Active Directory password. So in my case, I am the SS Administrator. Got my password here. I'm going to go ahead and click Sign In. But it should look just like this. And what you're going to see when it logs in is a screen just like this, where it says Accounts Receivable with a little folder. So to get to the good stuff, to get to the accounts receivable, we're going to go ahead and click on the little child archive button here, which is the little small folder. So we're going to click on this here, and you're going to see one of two different options here. One is going to be the aging report, and the other one is going to be customer invoices. Mainly for today's purpose. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have a pop-up on my screen. It looks like a login in the middle of my screen.
Well, yeah, so we'll just
click OK.
Yeah, if you log in, just like what I was doing here, if I click and log in here, it should be like this, right?
No, No, Jared has your information on it. I think it's for the meeting. It says attendees.
Oh, okay, yeah, then that should be for this here. You shouldn't have to worry about that part.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's just, I think what it is just if you want to display like in the attendee view, which is what it shows here. Yeah, it just showed you signing in as Jared right here. So.
Okay.
So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So again, we'll go ahead and make sure you have the screen that you see right here, Deep South SS Administrator and the password. And feel free to sign in, as long as you have the credentials and you have access to it. I'm not sure if you have access to it at the moment, but we can fix that in a little bit. So what you do is you'd see accounts receivable here, and you see a little folder icon, and you can click on Child Archives. And you'll see aging reports and customer invoices. Now, the methods that Jared and I put in place usually get documents there automatically, but I do want to demonstrate how to get a document into the system. If I click on customer invoices, for example, let's say you have one that the system doesn't, and you just don't want to mess with it, and you just want to index it yourself. You can manually drag a document or an item to customer invoices or aging reports, and it'll ask you to give us the information it wants. So to give you an example, I'm going to come here and grab, actually there was a samples folder. We'll just go to the samples folder. Here I'm just going to grab one of these documents. We're not actually going to let it in because it's already in the system, but I can drag and drop a file right to an archive if I choose. And what it's going to show us is the information. It's going to show us a preview of the document. You can zoom in and everything on this. And you could type in the information yourself or use a feature called key free. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that real quick. So because key free is used in other places as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get key free. And it's going to take a second to read the page here, but you'll see it starts out by highlighting branch number up here. So I can go ahead and find branch number on this page, which is down here. So I can click on this, and it's automatically going to fill things in for me. And then you see here that this has got, well, it's going to pick up the 45. We can take that out later. But you can drag and drop, and it'll actually fill in the information here, customer number. So you can index a document without having to type, and you let the OCR kind of do the work for you, if you choose to, on a document that you need to. And of course, now I'm going to come back in here and fix this here, and I would just take that out real quick. And then when you were done, you would just click Save. But in this case, this document's already in the system, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel. So it's going to bring you to this main screen here, but I wanted to show you drag and drop just because it's kind of a neat little feature. But we're going to see the main primary screen is what would you have here. And you do have a whole bunch of options for columns here. You can drag. If you want to see what a column number looks like or anything, you can drag and customize this. This customization will be for your login for that computer. So anything you do to this will not impact anybody else. So if you like your view a certain way compared to somebody else's, feel free to go ahead and make that change. You don't have to do anything differently here. So if you want to sort, you can definitely do that. If you click the little arrows next to each column, you have an option to sort by ascending, descending. You can hide the column if you don't want anybody, if you don't want to see it, if it's not relevant to you. You can pin the column to the left or the right. And this is kind of useful sometimes in case you want to drag and drop and you want to be able to have that still there for whatever reason. You can, if there's additional information that you need. So we'll go ahead and turn off that unpin. And essentially lets you do that. Now, if you want to do a quick edit of anything on here, there is an edit option. I can come in here and go, oh yeah, I know this is definitely not $0. It's $0. It's a penny or something. You can come in here and change it real quick with this too. I mean, you most likely would open up the document and check, but if you happen to know it off the top of your head, you can come in and make a quick change to any of your search results. And you can see it gave me that orange or red line, let me know what I was making a change to. And I can turn off that mode by hitting the edit button here. To the right over here, you're going to see a grid menu. The grid menu does this kind of a similar thing. It's just a little bit more, a different kind of way of skinning that same cat. So I can turn on and off visibility to a column if I want. I can pin it real quick and easy. It just gives you kind of a way to do all the columns at once in one view instead of clicking on each column. This right here, the second piece, is a archive history, which you can export. Gives you some little options here, turn on and off filters for that particular one. But this gives you an idea of who's viewed what. You saw me just make some changes, so it told me I edited a couple documents real quick. The rest of these look like they're just history from when the documents entered the system. But anything you do to the documents can be seen here, including delete. So if a document is deleted, you can also find it in the archive history is here. And then a document history, I can click on a document history here, and it will, document history icon, I should be able to get that to pull over here. To be honest, this one isn't really that great. There's one inside the document that's far better. I'll show you in a second, but it is there if you need it. This right here gives just another quick link to that archive history, and then down here at the bottom is a document history. If I uncheck this and I click on the grid menu one more time, there's a few more options. You can hide all, you can like fit the column width and everything. You can change these real quick to do quick adjustments to your columns. And then this here also does remove like any kind of sorting that you have. And then this ultimately, let's say you can't figure out what you did, you can't get it to go back to the way it was when you first logged in the first time. The reset layout will set everything back to defaults. So if you can't figure it out, worst comes to worst, come to that little symbol and click reset layout and they'll put it all back for you. So in terms of this view and just kind of the basics real quick, are there any questions so far?
Nope. Nope.
So before we get inside a document, I just want to kind of narrow down how do we narrow these down, because obviously you're not going to be hunting through 16,724 documents for an individual one. So there's a couple different ways we can do that. There's going to be a little magnifying glass that's next to any of the archives that you see here, whether it's aging reports or customer invoices. So if you click on the little magnifying glass, it's going to pop open an option for some different searches. So we made a couple different searches here. In the admin training, we're going to create a couple more. But we're going to show you things like, for example, browse customer invoice. The browse search is the most basic search there is in the system. It has everything available to it. So I can search by just pure branch number. I can sort by a customer name. So I'm going to go ahead and type in warranty. If a warranty shows up in the customer name at all, it will pull up any of that information, any of the documents that have that in there. You can also do it by like client dispute reason if you want. You can look at a system enter date, but keep in mind these are not date ranges down here. This is just you have to know the specific date for that. So I'm going to go ahead and run search. And now it should go ahead and narrow it down. Hopefully not 10,000, but 743 documents with the word warranty somewhere in the customer name. I want to refine that a little bit more, I can hit refine search up here, and it's going to go ahead and have warranty in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in branch number 003. So it's going to take the search results you have and allow you to add additional or take out additional parameters to that search. So if I hit run search again, it should narrow it down just a little bit more right there to 254. And I could take that back out if I want. Oops, I meant branch 2. I can come back in here and change that right here as well. So based on whatever search you have, you can run it, and then you can even refine it without having to rerun that search and find your documents here as well. So the main ones that you're probably seeing added are things like a date range search. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to pick a report date range. So branch number, it's optional, but we'll leave it there. Customer name or number or invoice number. So I left it as optional. So I'm going to type in warranty again. And the start date, let's go with, we just said these were back in October, right? So we're going to go ahead and put 10/1/2018 to, let's go 11/1/2018. I don't know if we're going to find anything or not, but we're going to go ahead and run that search. So now it should narrow down some documents, and apparently I am bad at this. But the idea is that you should be able to run that search and find documents within a certain specified date range. So I know there was a few in October and November, so I'm going to go ahead and run that date range search and just with the dates only, and that's perfectly fine. So we'll go with 10/1/2018 and 11/1.
I just added those recently, Jeff, so there may not be a whole lot in those month ranges. You might want to back it up to like May, June, July, somewhere in there.
Okay, we're going to change it back to 8th and 8/1. I just want to make sure that I show that it's not 16,000 is the point. So, okay, we're going to add that in here.
Gotcha.
And apparently I got to fix that search. I must have put them in backwards. That happens sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Well, we'll fix that in the training. We'll look at that in the training, the admin side of the house. But we should be able to go ahead and be able to pull those off of that. And I know they're there because we went through those last night. So as long as there's information in those, let's see, date range. I guess report date. I'll update. I guess I have the wrong one. I guess system enter date would be the one. So we'll take a look at that. So anyway, we're going to open up a document and look through this real quick here and see what we have. So basically, we open up a document. You can double click it like I just did. You can do a couple different things. You can highlight multiple ones, come here to action, and hit open documents. They should show up as 3 different tabs up top. Sometimes you get an error that will only show one, and you're going to find a pop-up blocker over here in the top right corner. If you click on the pop-up blocker options and allow always, then try to redo that same thing. Then you'll be able to open up these documents up here one at a time. For whatever reason you need to find them here, you can open them up. So what we have is basically the same thing you saw a moment ago when we were doing the initial searches. It gives you all the information that you have here. So branch, customer name, all the kind of fields that we happen to have here that are automatically captured by our template. So our template grabs these things: short-term rental repairs, customer number, invoice date, things like, or invoice amount, things like that. You can also see that it's went ahead and set other fields, like for example, invoice status, the system entered date, file type, stuff like that, that's set by the system automatically when things come in. So this would basically be how you would let's look at a document. You can find the information by any of this information. The additional items here, if you choose to put them in, would have to be manually entered on each individual document. But we were talking about something later on about the admin training about fields, what fields we want, how to add and remove fields, and what things that we need to have. We'll discuss a little bit there about what needs to happen there. But there is a little notes field down here too. So for example, let's say you want to type customer is paid up through January or something. You can definitely do that, and it allows you to be able to search not only by that, but it's going to be available. But the big thing I'm going to teach you, the number one thing I'm going to show you is that this button up here. This is the thing that you need to pay attention to the most. If you do not click this button and close the window, it will not save. So anything I do to this document, it doesn't matter what I do. If I don't hit save changes, it won't reflect in the document going forward. So it is just one of those things that people take for granted. Sometimes they'll click something and then they forget and they click the X, okay, I'm done, and they forgot to click this. It's the number one thing people end up doing, so just keep that in mind. I also want to show a history. the document here will show you whatever's been done to this document. So for example, you see that the system has automatically viewed and indexed this document when it was going through the import process. If I were to save this change, I'm going to go ahead and save that note to this document. I'm going to reload this document to show me that the document's been viewed and it's been indexed now another time, document data updated. So you can see now that anything I've done to this document is captured in a history. So you can always, and by who, in this case here too. So you see here, Deep South SS Administrator. So there's always a complete audit trail on anything that's done to these documents. So if something's on here that you don't understand, you might be able to find out who did that and go talk to them about it. I know it's only you three, but just kind of making the example here. So there's a whole bunch of different options going across the top up here. Zoom in, zoom out, fit the screen. I'll just demonstrate it real quick, but you can fit the width, you can fit the full, things like that. You can rotate a document. One comes in upside down. You can definitely fix that. You may have to index that document, but at least you'll be able to fix it and they'll look at it right side up. Next and previous are for pages. And just to show you, there is an option for additional pages here at the toggle thumbnails, but next and previous are for the pages. Pan allows me to drag around the document, so you'll probably be using that one a lot. Annotate, this is a big one. If you have permissions for annotate, you're going to have some options. One is going to be able to highlight if you choose. And you can even change the color of that highlight. I'm trying to right click on it. Maybe, yeah, that gives you the option to delete right there if I want to. There's system options to make changes to this as well. There's an option to stamp. It's going to ask you which stamps you want to have. So I can type in, I can just leave it on here. And this is just your general paid. It just looks like this. You can drag and drop it around too. And it's transparent. You also have the option to redact. Not that that really makes a big difference. Keep in mind it does not burn into this document permanently, so it can be removed if you have permissions. If you do not have permissions for annotations, then that it will appear like it's burned in. However, if you are doing anything with text-based in the background and like the key-free, I don't think the key-free will go behind it, but there's other options that can still see the text behind it, just so you know. So it isn't a true redact until it's burned into the document. There are ways that, and we'll discuss what that is, how that kind of happens later on. And then there's also a chance to also put another note on here, like a sticky note. So you have some different options here that you can do within this document. So I'm going to go ahead and take these back out. Well, actually, I don't have to save it either, but you have options to change fonts, stuff like that. If you right-click on them, it's a little tricky, but you can right-click and delete. Usually I just close it and reopen it, but without saving if I don't like it. And then you can also tilt it if you want to. That's what that green dot's about. So you don't want to put it like that, you can. You can look kind of cool that way. And there's also one other part that's attached to annotations that's separate, is sign. So if I want to click and drag over a box right here, it says signature there. I can go ahead and sign with my mouse or tablet.
Beautiful.
Really horrible looking signature there, but still it works. So I can hit sign here, and you're going to see that now that appears on the box here. Now keep in mind this isn't DocuSign or anything like that, but there is a spot to go ahead and do that if you choose to. And again, I can rotate it too, so I can totally look like I'm crazy, a madman on the wall and everything, and change its angle to that way and move it up there. Not that I don't know why anybody would do that, but you never know. So we have those kind of options. You have the actions menu here. You can replace pages in the document. You can open in Windows. This will open the document like kind of in a Windows type environment, so I'll click on that. So it's going to open it in Chrome in this case here. And you notice it didn't bring me with annotations because I didn't have that option. So again, I was saying it wasn't burned in. Still in that document because I also haven't hit saved either. Let me hit save first and then we'll do that. Don't worry, I'll take those out. I promise. I promise. And this is a live document. But it's still not going to show that in there because it's not an option for the annotations here. You're going to have the option to print. If I hit print, it's going to give me a choice here. Really? You're going to print to the default? Well, there's no default device anyway. Email, you're going to have an option with or without annotations. So again, if you want to put it with the annotations, it will be burned in with the signature and all that kind of stuff. With no annotations, it will look like a plain document. Yeah, I guess the print did that. You can export the document to your desktop. You can send a DocuSign. If you guys have DocuSign accounts, this is compatible with DocuSign. There's just additional configuration needs to happen for that. And QuickBooks is a module that is not purchased with this, but you can eventually set this up to work with QuickBooks if you choose, if you have that system. I don't think you guys do. So that's fine there, but I want to make you aware what each one of those do. Key free, we demonstrated that a little bit earlier. Related searches, you can use this to look for, in another type of system, what this would be useful for is, for example, in human resources, an employee file. So let's say you pull up somebody's W-4, you could do a related search and find, for example, their I-9 and stuff like that, because there are searches that can be set up to search other archives or other folders for that document based on something like customer name and stuff. So if I were to only have customer name in here and I hit browse an invoice, it would send customer name into that search and go from there. Unfortunately, we have all this other indexed information. So the search is on a browse search is not really a good setup for that, but you can set up a related search to find like all the other customers or all the other invoices by that customer name, and just ignore everything else like branch number, invoice number, and everything like that. So that's something you guys want to do. We can set one of those up for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and try to knock these out. There we go. Apparently I just have to hold down the right click. That's how okay, I've had the trouble with that for the longest time. Hold down right click and you can get rid of it a lot easier.
You can't just hit the delete button?
Delete button doesn't work on that. Well, it might. I haven't tried that, to be honest. I was told just to right click on it. Oh, it's save on this, and the signature one is the one that's the worst to get out, but I'll get it out. I'm going to copy down the invoice number. I'm not going to waste your time right now. I'm going to come back and I'll do that later.
Well, we don't follow up on this account anyway, so we're good.
I know, but still, I just want to make sure that you have your documents are nice and clean and stuff in there. So you have those options. The other thing you can do too is you can also, yeah, that's not there. So that's all set to go. And I know you're trying to print to a default device and there isn't one, so that's okay. Yep, I know. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, the quick overview of looking up documents, what you can do with them, and how you can make a change with that. I know that there was a status here for scanned and completed. So if you're following up on a document, you can change the status here inside of the document itself to complete. It'll move it from this little scan queue to completed. There are options to kind of do a little bit more bulk update and stuff, and I can share that later on with Jared. But you can change this from the scan to like past due or stuff in here as well. I don't know why complete's in there if you got past due, but we can make a change to that too. So with that said, that's pretty much like kind of the basics on getting in the system, finding documents, and pulling them up. Does anybody have any questions so far about anything?
I have a quick question. You were talking
Sure.
about you had to save any changes. And if you do save it and quote, does that mean that's what you consider it's burned into the invoice?
If you save it as an annotation, it's burned into the invoice. Not necessarily it's soft burned until you decide to do something like you export without annotations, or you do anything with annotations in it. If I were to email this with and this is compatible with Outlook, just so you know. But if I were to click this and then I make the attachment branch number and I click on this, it'll open up as an attachment. And with the annotations, any of the annotations I put onto the document, the signature, the highlight, the redact, that information will be burned into the document.
Okay, and then you can go back in if you want to send it that way or something. Then you can go back in and take all that you've changed. Can you take that back out afterwards?
Yeah, you can take it out afterwards if you want, or you can leave it in the document. Annotations are annotations. They're not permanent. They're only permanent if you choose a option like email with annotations. They're only permanent to that document that's being sent, but the base document it's always a soft annotation. It's not there's never a true burn into that document unless you take it out of the system, make a change. Let's say, for example, I emailed this document and I brought that document that I emailed back into the system and took out the old one. Then it's permanent.
Okay.
So if you come in with the marks already, let's say you've already redacted this in another software, or you've done this somewhere else and you've done like a change to it in another software, then yes, that will be a burden. Whatever you've done, it will be burned in at that stage before it came into this system. But anything you do with these annotations and sign, you can undo.
Okay.
Very good question, actually. Actually, believe it or not, that's one of the more common questions I get. So, what else? What else do you have?
Why? That's all I have.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to that one document and try to remove that. So, you know, the aging report is not that much different. It just has less fields. Right now I'm working on a couple things with the aging report, but just to kind of show you briefly, this isn't the one that we were working with the other day. This was the one we were dealing with before Christmas. But just to show you, it has a different set of fields in here. So you can put in how many ever fields you want to search by in here. It's just a choice of, you know, if there's something missing or something you want, something unnecessary, we can take those, put them in, take them out, and things like that. So with that, this is pretty much the end user training that I end up doing. There's a couple more like with the extensions and stuff, but not really anything that's really used. So with that said, before I go into admin training, is there anything else you want me to cover, Jared, or any other questions that you have for just the basic end user side before we get into all the admin stuff with like other archives and stuff?
No, that's okay. I mean, I would stop the training for this session and restart it again. You know what I mean? 2 separate recordings.
2 separate recordings. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to kill this session, and I'm going to have to email you a link for another one then. Okay, I'm going to do that because it's how it works. Otherwise, if I hit pause, it'll just add it to the end of the video, and there'll still be one video. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this. I'm going to re-email you that link real quick, and then we'll get jumping on the session. It should be a similar number to this. Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
Okay.